What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Career Mode. It's episode number 23. New season, new team, first time ever managing Manchester United. Yup, tremendous work done with Leicester City in the 3 seasons. We were at the King Power, taking them from relegation favourites in season 1 to a top 10 team at the end of season 3. Not to mention a Wembley appearance last season, reaching the FA Cup semi-final, only being knocked out by the eventual winners, Aston Villa. I possibly could have got them into Europe, and I possibly could have got them some silverware, but considering the season the Foxes have had in real life and the class young players we were able to bring in after selling the older players and develop a new core with Leicester, I feel we've done a really good job personally, and I feel satisfied leaving them in a really healthy position and deciding to move on to a new club to develop my manager's career further. And this is the job I really wanted, and I'll explain why in more detail in a moment. But for Manchester United last season, it was a shocking campaign, 7th in the Premier League, but also really disappointing in the domestic cups. Early knockouts in both the Carabao Cup and most notably in the FA Cup, where they were knocked out at home by a Championship side in the 3rd round, plus beaten by Chelsea in the Europa League semi-final, means there's no European football at Old Trafford for our first upcoming season with Manchester United. In the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era, each new manager has an average tenure of just 2 years, so it's no surprise that once again the board decided to pull the plug on their long-term successor for Sir Alex Ferguson. Ruben Amorim departs, and in comes Doxy Boy as hopefully, finally, the successor for one of the greatest managers of all time. No pressure. And as I run you through this very small squad that will certainly need a bit of rebuilding, very excited for that. The big reason why I wanted to go to this team next is because for those who haven't been reading the descriptions of my videos recently or following me on Instagram, that's at JonaDocks, is my only social media account now. Unfortunately, last month my dad passed away after a very long battle with illness, and he was a big Manchester United fan that followed him home and away in his younger years. And yes, I know the jokes about being a Londoner that supports Manchester United, you could use that in my dad's case, but to be fair, he was someone who deserved respect because the amount of time he spent travelling up and down the country, again, not just watching him at Old Trafford, but also all around England. He loved the club so much, man, and it was such a shame that, you know, since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, he was never able to see them get back to the glory days, if you will. And since he died, I've been down south helping my family sort out his possessions and seeing all the memorabilia he had from way back in the day, from the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was something that kind of stuck with me really. Like, I know how much he loved the club, but to have kept hold of so many items he collected over the years kind of showed how much passion he had for the club. And yeah, for sentimental reasons, I guess, I just thought it would be really nice to use them for the first time ever and try and bring them back to the glory days if I can. No small order, of course, very difficult task, but I'll certainly do my best. And yeah, it's why I've been away recently, but yeah, for my dad and for the saves kind of natural progression as well, I feel this is a really good choice. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is hiring and firing in a few 5-star scouts, just because, again, I want the best scouting team possible. Whether I use the academy here, I don't know, because I don't know how many more years we'll have in this career mode. But yeah, spend a bit of money on the 5-star scouts just to make sure we've got the absolute best ones. Might as well keep that one now. And I would say personally, looking at the team again, it's not a bad first 11. In fact, the first 11 is fantastic. Really, there's a couple of aging players in there, such as Kim Min Jae, who will need to be shipped on, of course. But you know, it's a decent team. The problem is there's very lack of depth. So granted, in the first season, not in Europe, it's not a major issue. But if we want to be back in Europe and staying in Europe and going far in Europe, I mean, this needs to change. We need more quality in depth. Well, and straight off the bat, I've already got to make a really difficult decision. I've put those 4 players that are out of contract on the transfer list. They're all going to go, including Kim Min Jae, who's fantastic. But I think it's time for a rebuild here. So let's sell the senior players. But also, oh man, I did not plan to sell him, but when Real Madrid come calling, listen, Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in world football, even right now when they've been struggling. Lucas Chevalier, the chance to go and be the long-term successor for Courtois. Us not being in Europe, I can't hold him against his will. So I'm going to sell him to Carlo, but as we know, probably Alonso next season, as we expect. 100 mil? 100 mil, one of the best goalkeepers in the world in his prime. I could possibly get more, but I don't want for Carlo to walk out. And really? Alright, well the tension bar hasn't really filled up at all, so that being the case, I always say this, when you're doing your negotiations, if you're new to career mode, keep an eye on that tension bar on the right hand side. If it barely fills up, it means you've got more wiggle room, more room to debate with that manager. So, okay, we're probably not going to get 100 mil then, but we still can get a bit more, I'd say. Let's go £97.5 million for Lucas, and in this market, I would say that is fair for a goalkeeper, not even in his prime at 25. Monster sale, shame, but good value. So there we go, first sale of the rebuild Chevalier to Real Madrid, 97.5 mil is what we'll get. I mean, let's just be totally honest here, I could not stand in his way. I still think, even though we're not in Europe, we are of course still a massive European club, so can keep hold of some of our stars, but in this case here, I don't think it would have been right to stand in his way, as Alvarado goes to Wolves as well. But as for new signings for the season, well, I think we've got to rebuild this team. I'd like to bring back some Manchester United Academy grads, some of the star players they had, such as Diogo Dalot as well. Bruno Fernandes is at Bayern Munich right now, so definitely can't convince him to come back here. But we need to assemble a new core, I would say. Possibly bring back some homegrown players, but also quite a few British players who are now possibly approaching the prime of their careers. And one person for me that I think would be perfect is Elliot Anderson, a versatile player at Nottingham Forest, having a great year under Nuno this season, but he's exactly the kind of player I want for the new look Manchester United team. Versatile, incredibly hard working, technically fantastic, and now hitting his stride as well. For the first signing of the new era, Elliot Anderson is the embodiment of all the new players I want. Taking over a team that needs a major rebuild is challenging, but it's also so fun as well. It's my favourite thing to do because it's a great chance to say, okay, out with the old, in with the new. Things haven't been working, now let's try it my way. And I've laid down the blueprint on day one and said, this is the kind of team I want to build and these are the kind of players I want. Elliot Anderson is that kind of guy. Hard-working, consistent, versatile and willing to fill in a variety of positions. Newcastle fans will tell you he's more than capable of doing that. Nottingham Forest fans know they got a bargain, and now at Manchester United I'm buzzing to making my first signing of the new era at Old Trafford. So coming in on a 5-year, 70 grand a week deal, welcome to Old Trafford, Elliot Anderson. Yeah, brilliant player. Brilliant player. Showed great promise when he burst on the scene at St James's, but since going to Nottingham Forest, he's now looking to take the next step, and he's got some amazing stats right now at just 24 years old. Physically, brilliant all across the board, but it's the 87 stamina you know I'm most drawn to. Mentally reads the game really well, and technically too, whilst he's better defensively than going forward, he's still got really good options in the creative role. 82 dribbling, 85 crossing, 82 curve, 85 short pass, and because of that, I think what I might do is instead of playing him as a central midfielder alongside Ugarte or Larson, maybe say, why don't you change to a right back? I think that's where I'll play him in this Manchester United team. He's good enough defensively, great energy, and enough pace as well, so why not? Obviously, we know the system that Ruben Amorim wants to play, and I don't know whether I'll stick to that in this team or not, because I'm old school, man. What can I say? I love my 4 at the back systems. I always have, and I always will. But even if we were to stick with the system that Manchester United are currently playing, I mean, I think on that right-hand side, again, as a right mid / right wing back / right back, however you want to define it in modern football, he's a good fit for that role. He's a really good fit for that role with his versatility and his high energy as well. So really, whether we change the formation or not, whether we place through the middle or at right back or right mid, I think out on the flank, he'll do really well. So 3 more sales. The biggest one, of course, Kim Min-jae, who was the captain when we took over here. So we need someone to wear the armband now moving forward. The South Korean is off to London. He's joined Arsenal for, was it £31 million, I think it was there. So didn't want to sell him really. Obviously, great defender, as we know. But yeah, in the final year of his contract now in his 30s. We're rebuilding, man. What can I say? So now off to the Emirates. Mason Mount goes to Aston Villa. And we also sold Victor Lindelof to Ipswich Town for £3.3 million. So our budget rises, yes, but our squad gets even smaller. I'm going in the wrong direction. I said we needed more depth. I'm getting less of it. Oh, and this is not what I was hoping for either. Just had a bid for Dusan Vlahovic from Chelsea. I didn't want to sell this guy, man. I wanted him to lead my line. I have never used this guy before, and I would really like to give him a go, but Chelsea are now a Champions League club. Won the Europa League last year. Chance to move to London. Oh, I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? Yeah, we know the mega money that Chelsea have been spending since their takeover and the long-term contracts they can put their players on. I think it will fit Dusan Vlahovic perfect, really. Is it just me, by the way, or have Chelsea never really found a great long-term successor for the striker role since Diego Costa? Is that fair for me to say? It definitely feels it, but maybe Vlahovic can be that guy right now in the prime of his career. I think he's worth a bit more than this personally, based on the age, the supposed inflation, plus the rating as well. I don't want Maresca to walk out, so we've got £110 million. They say no, but I should be able to get it closer to that. So let's go £107.5 million. I'm pretty sure he'll say yes, and he does. Massive sales this window. Kim Min-jae to Arsenal, Chevalier to Real Madrid, now Vlahovic to Chelsea as well. Yep, possibly could have got a bit more money, but I don't mind one bit. I only want to keep players here that want to stay here as part of the rebuild with Manchester United. The door is open for our star players to leave, and Dusan walks out of it. Off to Chelsea, we'll take 107.5 mil, and now we need a new striker, and there's plenty of options to go for. But as we continue to do things slightly differently here with Manchester United, there's some great options to go after here, but I'm going to go after someone who's not really a striker, and that is the Bilbao attacking midfielder Sanchez, who to me is going to be a different option as part of our front three. Now again, right now Manchester United, they've got those inside forwards and that one lone striker. Now, if they stick with the Amorim system, you could definitely see this guy playing in behind a classic kind of striker, but instead, I'm going to have this guy leading my line to play in those two inside forwards right now, Sancho and Kubo, but also being able to be a goal threat with the great finishing stat he's got as well. Plus 6'2". I'm a massive fan of this guy. I've never used him before. Let's bring him in from the Basque region to Manchester. If you haven't seen this guy play before, believe me when I tell you he is a serious talent right now, approaching the prime of his career. A really awesome, versatile midfielder that to me, again, could possibly play as a spearhead in our front three. Coming in on a 5-year, 120 grand a week deal for a new club record transfer fee. I'm buzzing to use him for the first time ever. Welcome to Old Trafford, Oyan Sanchez. Yep, 6'2", in the prime of his career. Physically, this guy is an absolute monster. He is quick, but the strength and the stamina is what I'm most excited about. Mentally, reads the game brilliant, but also technically as well. The versatility is fantastic here. Now, as a CM with those great passing stats, he'd be brilliant, but to me, I think he'd be most effective as a spearhead in our front three. Not as a traditional number 9, but someone to play those inside forwards in and hold the ball up too. That's where I'll play him for now. Whether it works out, I guess we'll see. And I think I'm going to make one more signing and leave part 1 of the rebuild there for today. Obviously, since Chevalier's gone, we've got Trafford as our number 1, but we will need a new backup goalkeeper. And I'd love to bring De Gea back for one more final season. But I tell you what, man, he is rejuvenated right now in Tuscany with Fiorentina. So with that being the case, I'll leave him there in Italy, at least until his contract is over, and then I'll bring him back for one final season. But Radek Vitek and Matej Kovar, 2 young Czech goalkeepers, both out of the Manchester United Academy, and with Vitek being the younger, lower rated, and right now not a starter as well. I just want someone to sit on the bench for James Trafford, but also someone that helps with the homegrown standings when we eventually get Manchester United back in Europe. Let's bring him in. Yeah, I think James Trafford will stay as our number 1 for all the years we're here at Manchester United. He might be a Man City Academy graduate, but I could definitely see him going to Old Trafford as the Onana successor one day, or maybe as the Nick Pope successor at Newcastle. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But Radek Vitek is in, 5-year deal, 20 grand a week deal, and again, he's just to sit on the bench, man. But I have mentioned this before. To me, the life of a backup goalkeeper, it's got to be the best gig going, man. Low stress, high pay, great facilities to work in. What's not to love? And that'll do it for today's episode, guys. So massive thank you for watching the first episode of Season 4 and our first episode with our new team. It's always so hard to choose a new team in a multi-side career mode say, but hopefully you guys are happy with this choice. I think personally, it's the best fit realistically, and I think for personal reasons too, it's just nice for me to do this. So hopefully you guys are happy with the team we've chosen, and we'll be back in the next episode with part 2 of the rebuild. There is still so much more money to work with, so many more new signings to make. We are not done with transfers yet, and we'll have our first games with our new team, Manchester United Old Trafford, in the Premier League. Have a great day, guys. Much love to you, and I'll see you for part 2 of the rebuild very soon.